In this video, we're going to learn all about the anatomy of the guitar. This is important because a lot of these terms are going to be used when I describe where you put your fingers or talking about strings or different things. So it's good to just know what each part of the guitar is called and the term you use in general, but also definitely for this course, certain ones I will be bringing up and you're going to want to know what I'm talking about. Let's go over this part first. This is the headstock. These are the tuning pegs or tuning keys. This is the nut right here. Then we move farther down the guitar. We have the neck of the guitar, the fretboard with each fret. See how there's different spaces, each fret. These are the frets right here. And you're going to need to know the frets because when you use your left hand, you're going to be putting your fingers on the frets, or your right hand if you have a left-handed guitar. But if you have a right-handed guitar, it will be your left hand. The first fret is right here. So when you're holding the guitar like this, the first fret is the farthest one away from you. The one closest to the headstock, that's where number 1 starts. And we start counting 1 here, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all the way up to however many frets you have. Different guitars can have a different amount of frets. We have these position markers right here. Not all guitars have them, but a lot of them do. Actually, most of them do. These are great markers. It also marks right here. You see? So when you're holding the guitar, you can see them. The reason why they are there is if you know you have to play in the 5th fret, for example, that my first dot's the 5th fret. On different guitars, sometimes the first dot's the 3rd fret. So you kind of figure that out. On my guitar, let me count and see what my first dot is. But mine on this guitar in particular is the 5th fret. So if you have a song that says, oh, play in the 5th fret, well, instead of having to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you just go, oh, that's my first dot. You don't have to spend all this time figuring out like where's my 5th fret, especially when you're beginning, you know, and it's just an easy way to just jump up to the 5th fret or the 7th on mine, the 9th, or the double dot on most guitars is the 12th fret, and so on. So it just shows you, like, let's say playing the 12th fret on the 6th string or something. Oh, 12th fret's my double dot. I got it. I don't have to just sit here and figure it all out, and that's why they put those there. It's really handy. Some guitars have a cutaway right here, like my other guitar, and that allows you to more easily play up the fretboard. I'll show you on the electric guitar when I do that right after this acoustic. I'll show you what that means, but some acoustics have a cutaway as well, but not all acoustics do. And that allows you to play up the fretboard right here way easier. Actually, it's almost impossible kind of to. You can do it, but it's not necessary though. If you're really going to get into some intricate guitar playing and crazy soloing and all that stuff, you might want to cut away, but as a beginner, you don't need it. So if you don't have one, it's no big deal because you can always get one later if you really feel like you need it. But it's really not necessary whatsoever. Then we get into the body of the guitar. We have the pick guard, the bridge, the saddle, the soundboard, the ribs, and of course, the sound hole on the acoustic guitar. Now, of course, we have to talk about the strings, right? We have strings, 6 strings on the guitar. Each string has a number. So when we are working with the frets, like I said, we're numbering the 1st fret over here, closest to the headstock, and 2, 3, 4, and so on. The strings are numbered, and that's kind of how we figure out where we're placing our fingers, and what string we're playing on and all that. So we need to know the numbers of the frets and the numbers of the strings. So we have different strings on your guitar, have different thicknesses. The first string is the skinniest string. As you can see here, the skinniest string is right here. The thickest string is right here. You'll notice the difference between the first string, which is the skinniest string, and the 6th string. There is a difference. You can tell. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between the 1st and 2nd string and so on, but you definitely can tell the difference between the 1st and the 6th string. The first string is closest to the pick guard if you have one. Not all guitars have a pick guard, but if you do have a pick guard, you know, okay, well, my first string is closest to the pick guard. That's how I know it's my first string. If you can't tell the difference between that, at least you know, okay, well, my first string is closest to the pick guard, which means your pick guard goes closest to the ground, farthest away from your face. So does your first string. So your first skinniest string is always in the bottom, closest to the floor, farthest away from your face. And then your sixth string, which is the thickest string, which is farthest away from the pick guard, should be closest to your face. You're holding the guitar like that, okay? On a steel string acoustic, the skinnier strings will have a different color as well. So another way to tell what are the skinnier strings and the thicker strings, if you can't tell by their thicknesses, is that you have the more silvery look and then the more bronze sort of look on the thicker strings, depending on what strings you have. Sometimes that doesn't happen and that's not the case, but just kind of feel, okay, you can feel the thickness of each of the outer strings. Oh wait, this one's skinnier. That's gonna go away from me or towards the bottom, especially if you don't have a pick guard to tell you to. If your strings are stringed the wrong way, let's say somehow you got a guitar, maybe it was used or a hand-me-down, and for some reason that first string is on the top, away from the pick guard, you're gonna wanna re-string it. Sometimes there's a reason why people do that. Maybe they're trying to make a right-handed guitar turn into a left-handed guitar like this, right? So you can technically restring strings on a right-handed guitar to make it a left-handed guitar where the sixth string is then on top, but then your pick guard would be on top. So it just depends, you know, technically you can do that, but then also your position markers, they won't be on the correct side, so then you won't have those position markers facing you when you're holding the guitar. And that is actually another way. If you do have position markers on your guitar, some guitars don't have them, but if you do have position markers on your guitar, most of the time they're up here too, where you can see them when you're holding them, and then that's how also you will know these need to face me when I'm holding the guitar. If they face you, you have the guitar, you're holding the guitar correctly. So knowing that, the skinniest string is the first string, and then you just go up from here, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So if you remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're gonna be using those numbers when I tell you where to play on the guitar. I just grabbed my acoustic with a cutaway really quick to show you what the cutaway looks like. If you have a cutaway, that's an easy way to know too. That needs to be farthest away from you if you don't have a pick guard. You know, that's like, those are the signs. The cutaway is more farther away. The pick guard is farther away from you. It's closest to the ground, away from your face. The first string and, you know, the position markers are, you're going to be able to see those if you have them on your guitar. This guitar, as you notice, has the position marker. The first position marker is on the 3rd fret. So different guitars may have different position markers. So just know that. Find out what yours are so that when we start playing in the higher frets, you'll know exactly where to go. On the electric guitar, everything is the same, really, except there's a few additions that the acoustic doesn't have. So in this electric, we have a cutaway. As you can see, with this, I'm able to easily press onto these higher frets. So that's what makes it nice. If it was all the way up here, kind of like my other guitar, and if the body came around like this, then it would be a little bit more challenging because it would be harder to grab my thumb around that outside of it onto the neck. On the electric guitar also, you will have pickups. So instead of a sound hole, electric guitars have pickups to pick up the sound to then bring the sound through an amp. And that's why I recommend when you are practicing with an electric guitar to have an amp, because this isn't tuned, but it's a very quiet instrument when it's not amplified, and it's totally fine to practice that way. But if you eventually want to sing and play at the same time, Singing and playing at the same time definitely requires to be able to hear the guitar a little bit better to sing along with it. It's not impossible, but it just, since it's so quiet, it's just nice to have an amp. And if you have an electric guitar, you probably want an amp anyway. But if you don't have one at first, totally fine. But if you're gonna start singing and playing, or if you really want to get into like the effects that an electric guitar has, an amp and pedals and all that could be fun to have if you want to do it. It's not necessary at the beginning though, but you will want it if you have an electric guitar. Another difference between the electric and acoustic is the truss rod is right here. That adjusts the action of the guitar. On the acoustic, it's actually on the inside, so you'd have to take off all the strings to adjust the neck on the acoustic. In one of the Start Here videos, I talk about how the action on a guitar is very important. If it's too high or too low, that can really affect your playing and all that. So that's how you would adjust it. If you're a beginner though, I would recommend going to a music store or going to a guitar luthier and having them do it professionally at first, or even having them show you how, or all that. Some of them are really cool and will show you how you can do it yourself. Here on the electric, we have the pickup switch. We have the volume and tone knobs right here. And other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. On this electric guitar, all of my tuning pegs are on one side. On my acoustic, I have 3 on each side. Sometimes electric guitars will have the same thing. It just depends on the guitar. You'll see that, but yeah, you'll either see them all 6 on one side or 3 and 3. And these come in handy when you are tuning and keeping your guitar in tune for sure. These are the things that you tighten or loosen to make the string be more in tune. And we'll talk about that in the tuning video. One last thing, since this is an electric guitar, all electrics have a plug somewhere. It's a 1/4 inch plug for a 1/4 inch instrument cable. You can plug it in there. Some of them have it here. Pure acoustic guitars will not have a plug-in, but since this is an acoustic electric, this also has one, a 1/4 inch right here. You don't have to have all of those memorized, but you do need to know your string numbers and your fret numbers, and then you're ready to start playing.